So my grandson take is the LA Dodgers will not make the playoffs this year.
They'll be all right. So now my prediction, because I had a feeling that was coming. The Dodgers will win over 110 games, and the Orioles will win over 110 games. There, bookie.
Yeah, buddy. Episode 105 of Cinco Squad. What's going on, fellas? My name is Jonathan Sawyer. With me are my brothers Grandpa J, Mike A, and Trey Day. Fellas, happy Thursday. Final Four Thursday. Boy, did we have a Monday in the women's college game against LSU in Iowa. 12.5 million viewers for that game. Wow. And I wonder how many stayed throughout the entirety of the game, though. That's one of my biggest question. But how was your Thursday?
Went into the fourth quarter, so.
I mean, I thought LSU was going to definitely win that game in the second. I was like, oh, shit. But then Caitlin Clark said, nah, I'm Steph Curry.
Yep.
I was like, okay. She's done.
How about the only college football game that got more viewers than that game was the Ohio State-Michigan game?
Which, it makes sense that did, but you'd think some of the other ones did.
Yeah, like maybe.
Or would have.
Well, Florida-Georgia hasn't been the same since 05, 06.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, the rivalries just aren't the same, and people come for rivalries and things such as that. I mean, we talked about before, the transfer portal, all these things have changed the whole game of rivalries and all that type of stuff.
But in bigger news, Bronny James has entered the transfer portal, and he'll be coming to Syracuse University. So I remember calling that. He's going to follow Cayenne Anthony. He's going to come and follow Cayenne. He looked great in orange and blue. What do you mean? I saw him wearing an orange hoodie one time. I was like, see, he should be on the East Coast in Syracuse.
I'll be more excited for your McDonald's All-American kid.
Donnie Freeman, baby. Mm-hmm. He's going to be electric. And then we got that big kid from Colorado, so the big center that dominated in the tournament, 21 points, I think 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Just amazing. The Final Fours are coming up this weekend, fellas. It's going to be a jam-packed. We got Paige Buchers versus Caitlin Clark, and then UConn, and then South Carolina. Whoever wins that game plays South Carolina, pretty much. So
yeah, pretty much.
I know NC State's gonna prove me wrong. Watch. But one person that never proves me wrong is what's on Mike's mind. So let's get over to Mikey. Mike, what's on your mind today?
Yeah. So you guys think that pitchers in the MLB throw hard now? You got to listen to this. Steve Dalkowski is thought to be the hardest throwing pitcher in history, despite never making it to the major leagues. Ted Williams once said he threw the hardest he'd ever seen and never wanted to face him again. He once threw a ball through a wooden fence, tossed a ball over a fence 440 feet away, shattered an umpire's mask with a pitch, and had an errant throw rip part of a batter's ear off. When measured with military ballistics equipment, because they didn't use radar guns back then, they didn't have the same technology they have today, he was measured at 93.5 miles per hour. Now, you might be saying, that's not very fast. That's like the average MLB fastball now. However, the reading was taken a day after he pitched in a game, and it took the machine 40 minutes of him throwing to get an accurate reading. It also read the ball as it crossed home plate, not about 10 feet away from the plate at peak velocity as it does today, which most likely cost him 10 to 15 miles per hour. In the end, Dalkowski finished his career with 956 innings pitched, 1,324 strikeouts, and an incredible 1,236 walks. In 1960 alone, he both walked and struck out 262 batters. As a side note that I want to add to the end of this, during his career, he did pitch for the Rochester Red Wings and the Elmira Pioneers.
That's why you did it, because it's your hometown.
Actually, shout out to Uncle Chris. He's the one that sent me a video on it. But I just find that insane that statistically they're estimating, he threw between 110 and 115.
So hopefully he's the one who created the theme song for Wild Thing.
Wow. Yeah, really.
I do.
What's that show? What's that one show with the where the brother and sister-in-law move in and then he tries to be an umpire and he can't see the pitch and he's like pointing to the other ump. That's what the umps were doing. They're like pointing to each other, like, "You call the pitch."
I do know that. Have you guys ever seen Bull Durham,
Yeah.
the movie? So it's a good baseball movie. Check it out. The Nuke Lelouch, the pitcher that's always wild, but he's like really good when he's accurate. He's supposedly loosely based on this guy.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
I thought he was
So,
like Mendoza from the Mighty Ducks, who just is all over the place, slamming into the glass, can't stop, can't control.
more or
anything.
less, yeah. But but with pitching, yeah. No, they said he would have been a great major league pitcher if he ever could find any amount of accuracy. But he walked 262 batters in it.
That's usually key.
Yeah.
I mean,
He walked 260.
He only had 262 strikeouts, so I mean, yeah, that usually
Yeah,
doesn't
hitting.
bode well.
But he's probably walking your ass too.
Yeah.
Or beaming you. All right, Grandpa Jay.
He ripped the
All
guy's
right, go
ear
ahead.
off, so. No, I was
All
just
right,
saying, he
Grandpa
ripped the guy's
Jay.
ear off.
Lock it down. How you doing this week?
Rough week last week. We had a couple of close ones, but did not have the success we had the week before. But that's why we live to call another game. So here's how we're going into the locks of the week this week, guys. And I am super excited about the Final Four both ways. I mean, I don't think I've been this excited about both the men's and women's ever. And I don't know why we've been sleeping on UConn. I should have been calling UConn as a bet of the week, lock of the week every week. So I'm not missing out on UConn this time around. So they've covered the spread for 10 games in a row now, dating back to last year. As much as I love Alabama's energy and what their point guard can do and their three-point shooting, this team and group of young men are just too good right now to lose a basketball game, and they're winning by double digits. So 11.5 is the spread right now. I would take that all day long. It's probably going to move up to 12.5 or 13 by game time. So if you can catch it early, take it. And the Lakers are playing their best basketball of the year right now. They're in a must-win situation. They got the Cavs at home this Saturday, so it's a must-win game for them. So I'm going to say take the Lakers on the money line to beat the Cavs at home. Donovan Mitchell has sat out a couple of games for his knee, so he might be playing or might not be suiting up. It doesn't matter to me. The Lakers win this one. So I'm just going with 2 this week. So we got UConn to cover the spread, 11.5, and the Lakers to beat the Cavs at home on the money line. But if you want to get a little bit frisky, after watching what Paige Bueckers did to USC and Juju Watkins, not so fast Caitlin Clark. I'm going to say if you want a good little bonus to try and up your bucks this weekend and you're willing to risk it for the biscuit, take the UConn women to upset the Iowa women and Caitlin Clark. And I know everybody wants Caitlin in the finals, but I think Paige Bueckers might be a little more hungry than she is. That, ladies and gentlemen, are your locks of the week.
What does Jerry McNamara mean to me? I was 16 years old sitting in the TK99, the local radio station there in Syracuse, and Jerry McNamara would come in every Thursday to talk sports with Gomez and Dave, the personalities, in the morning. I'm in awe the first time I get to see Jerry, and it was like I was talking to one of my best friends. We talked sports. We talked Syracuse basketball. He was always open to having questions about his career. But, man, I can tell you right now, Jerry McNamara means more to me than any other player that's ever touched the floor. I can remember the 6 threes he had in the national championship game. He doesn't make those threes. Who knows what happens in that game? I can remember in 2006 when you hit the game winner against Cincinnati, then the next night hits the game tying 3 against UConn to send it to overtime, and then nails 5 threes against Georgetown the very next night, and one coming within the final minutes to elevate the win to send Syracuse to the Big East championship game, and then knock down the go-ahead 3 against Pittsburgh to win the Big East championship and secure an NCAA tournament bid. That was just an incredible tournament run that I will never forget. I can remember so many great memories of Jerry McNamara that were just like mind-blowing, that made the Big East what the Big East was. The iconic moments against Pittsburgh and UConn and Georgetown and all the great schools, nailing over 400 threes in his career, having his jersey hang in the rafters. He was our Steph Curry of that generation. Anytime he crossed half court, you knew it was Jerry McNamara lane. It could be from 40 feet, it could be from 10 feet. He was nailing that shot. It was almost automatic every single time. Jerry McNamara overall was just an amazing athlete, at Syracuse, but also an amazing person. Outside of the game, he would always treat any fan like they were his friend. He would always treat any person that came up to him like he knew them for 30 years. He's just a great person for the Syracuse community, and Syracuse lost a great coach, but Siena gained one of the most iconic players and people that has ever came out of Syracuse University. I am so happy for Gerry McNamara and getting the Siena head coaching job. It's a stepping stone for him to potentially be one of the best coaches ever. We're going to miss you in the orange and blue, but I understand it's an opportunity of a lifetime for you to take your first step towards being one of the greatest head coaches to ever coach college basketball. You were learned from one of them, now you're going to be one. So best of luck to you at Siena. Gerry will always bleed orange and blue. As we're talking about the NCAA tournament, let's just keep it going into, the matchups that have been throughout the men's and the women's tournament. So I guess, when we're looking at it, what storyline have you guys liked so far throughout the entire, tournament? There's been a ton, from Big Baby Burns to anybody. So who you got? Jamie? Grandpa Jay? Whoever you are? One of the three.
Who are you?
For me, it's of course everybody loves the Big Baby Burns story, and I think most people would go there because who doesn't love a Cinderella? I have really enjoyed kind of seeing what a very focused Zach Edey can actually produce, and him dropping 40 in the biggest game of his career so far. And really putting a stamp, I guess, on that entire region and saying, look, we were the best team coming in. And I guarantee you, if we have to look back at the majority of brackets, a lot less than 40% probably had Purdue coming out of that bracket. So good for them for getting the job done as they were supposed to do last year. So I kind of like seeing his personality come out. I love seeing him call out coaches and saying they didn't believe in me. So kind of like, slap to the face, and so here's what you could have had. I think it's a bit futile for him to say that after the fact, because would he have choked at those other programs on the previous years? Who knows? But he hasn't done it this year. I think Purdue has the best team by far they've ever had. They have reliable players that can score the basketball if Edey's being double or triple teamed, as they should be if they have nobody guarding them. But I love the story of seeing his personality come out and us having a chance to at least see him have a chance of winning a national championship after one of the more storied careers in college basketball.
This is going to be the best.
The real personality. The real personality is DJ Burns. Let's be real. That is the goddamn story of this tournament. Yeah. And you'll get to see him put that big-ass belly. Huh?
Big Baby Burns, I call him.
Yes, you would get to see that big-ass belly throw Edey around this week. I remember, and what it kind of reminds me of, y'all remember the run back when Big Baby was actually playing at LSU and they went to the Final Four. This reminds me of that because Big Baby had a fun personality back then. Yes, he turned to a crybaby in the NBA. Yes, we had memes. He deserved all that. But he was a very lovable, fun guy at LSU, and that's what we're getting to see now with Big Baby Burns in this case. So I just love that. I've loved just his whole personality. I've loved the whole story of him just being basically an OG vet that's just out here just moving people around. I've loved even hearing like the random stories where it's like NFL teams are now going to scout him. It's like, where's this coming from? Like, okay, now we're going to draft him as a tackle for Mike's New York Giants to try to protect Danny Dimes. Is that where we're headed at now? Like, it's just, that's been a fun story. You know me, I'm not always into the Cinderella story, but I don't look at them all 100% like a Cinderella because, I mean, NC State they're not, like, I'm not going to say you could have just easily seen this coming, but they do have talent. They do have people you've heard of before. This isn't like some George Mason back in the day. Like, this is a big-ass program with talented players, but they just didn't have, they underperformed during the season. They didn't have high seed.
To your point, that's what I was going to say about Zach Edey, is he's up to his biggest test. He's been able to move guys around. He's not going to be able to move DJ Burns around. He's going to have to rely on his post game, and Zach Edey has some of the worst feet versus DJ Burns, who has some of the best footwork as a big man. So this is going to be very interesting. What's that?
DJ Burns is a fucking ballerina out there. I'm pretty sure that man's done some ballerina in his life.
Dude, that dude is hilarious. I love the mentality that this team has, and when they got DJ Horn back in the ACC tournament, I was like, this team's going to be scary because Syracuse played against them, and Syracuse won both matchups, ended up losing the ACC tournament, but they played them both times, and they were down 25 each time and came back. And it was led by DJ Horn. And I think no one's really talking about that part of the game is when he came back, that's when NC State started really flowing, right? And it shows right now that if you don't need to have a 30-win season. You need to have a good enough season to get yourself in the tournament or play good in March and go on a roll. And that's what NC State's doing. And again, I'm not shitting on Mike, but that's exactly what your North Carolina Tar Heels did when they went to the national championship. They finally started playing to their potential, and that's what NC State's doing right now, playing to their potential. I guess for mine, my biggest storyline would have to come out of, I'm gonna just say, the LSU Iowa matchup. I mean, it was everything we asked for. That it was just great basketball, up pace. It was speed. There was a lot of scoring. It was 95-89 or something like that. Like, it was a high scoring game. There's scoring. There's fouls. There's tough fouls. There's Caitlin Clark hitting sideways threes. Like, it was everything you wanted in that game, and I think they performed to that potential, and I think that's got to be the best storyline the entire both tournaments because it showed out. It wasn't like a one-sided game like it was last year where LSU kind of dominated the entirety of that game. Iowa was in this game the entire time and was focused. But I also got to shout out Juju because Juju Watkins really performed well against UConn and probably should have won that game.
Paige took over, man.
Paige did. Paige did what she was supposed to.
I mean, Juju, the youth of the USC team. So
very much so.
Their year. I mean, they got it next year. That's the year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think obviously one of my favorites has been not only just Big Baby Burns because it's been incredible, but just like DJ Horn, more so like all that entire team has been incredible. Like they go from, they have to win the ACC tournament to even get in. It was considered, and now they find themselves in the Final Four. Like, that's incredible. On the other side of, and I know we've talked about it, but I haven't heard as much talk about the fact that UConn is better. Like, this men's team is somehow better than they were. And they're just, I'm not sure. There's a lot of analogies to describe them. They're the juggernaut. They're like almost every team in the tournament's boogeyman. Like, let's just hopefully we don't.
They're the most dominant team that has been not talked about. I think what was it?
On the herd tonight, I heard on my way home. There was finally an interview that mentioned that said.
Colin Cowherd said that. Colin Cowherd said that.
They're not giving Hurley enough credit for literally going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, here's my core of players that I'm going to build around. And the people I bring in from the portal have to play around these guys. So he pieced it together properly. He didn't just go and get the best available guy or whoever's interested in UConn that's sure that they're talented at another program. He built it very strategically, and he's been great. I say that's another thing. I love the fact that he's deep in the tournament. His interviews have been phenomenal this week. Like, he's so open about who he is as a person.
But that's how he was, Jay. That's how he was at Rhode Island. And I kept mentioning that on Twitter to a lot of people. It's like when I used to cover St. Bonaventure and we used to talk to him, that's how he used to come across in his interviews. That's how he used to build. That's why Rhode Island was such a dominant team for such a long time. For sure. And they took a step back. But, Dan Hurley, I mean, he's just a dominant coach. I mean, he just has that, like I mentioned in my clip, Bill Belichick mentality that he just, it's like, he's still perfecting the game at this point in the season. He's like, we're still perfecting it. But then he also comes back, and I love when he comes back to his side. He's like, I'm also kind of sad. I also cry a little bit in my hotel room because I know it's coming to a close, and I don't want it to. Because, that's how much this team and everything means to him. And some of these guys have only been there a year. So he's built those relationships and bonds together that have just morphed over the course of the season. And it's great to see it, and I can't believe they're not talked about more. Trey, what were you saying?
I think, like I said, he's been talking. All I see is him interviewing all week, which is fine. This is kind of going back to what we used to have as a superstar coach. I would ask you how many players have you seen interviewed this week from UConn, and I think it's because this isn't the days of let's go back to UConn where you have Emeka Okafor, Hakeem to beat Ray Allen, whoever fill in the blank. Right now, they are a great team with a great coach, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think this is going back to the old school where the coach is the superstar. That's why you don't hear them talk about as much because Hurley ain't making no baskets, which is fine. It's not knock on it, but that's where we're basically at. I think.
He's such an underassuming guy to be proclaimed as a superstar. You know what I mean? Like he's
but
a
we
regular dude.
But to your point, Clinnigan is one of the top centers in the league.
Coaches are gone.
And prospects.
I mean, and exactly. I mean, their center is probably going to go in the NBA this year, and it's probably going to be. I mean, he's really good and not talked about a lot. Like really good. His footwork is on point. He can shoot. He can move the ball. He can do a lot of stuff on the floor. That
said, a question for you. So with that said,
yeah.
Because everybody looks at the tourney, we're looking at this. How much do you put in the tourney into the draft? Where you're looking at saying, okay, well this person shit the bed in the tourney, this person did great in the tourney. When you're looking at drafting a prospect there, since you're talking about the UConn center, or it's anybody in general.
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot to put in there, right? So there's a lot of players that the tourney makes who they are. Steph Curry, I think, and he's one example, right? He was put on the grand stage and performed to that stage. He always was a great shooter at Davidson. He was always a great shooter coming in there. He worked on his craft, and it was no shock to me when I saw him go off because I followed Davidson that year. I remember him going off, and I'm like, this dude's going to be incredible if he gets in the right flow of things. Same with Kemba Walker. I think Kemba Walker. But so when you look at these players, I think it puts them in there, but I don't think it can be the end-all, be-all, right? They performed in a big moment. They performed in a big stage. But the NBA is a marathon. You have to go 82 games. So when you go 82 games, you're not going to have those big moments every single night. It's just not. How do you do over a course of the season? How do they do I think 1 through 30 means a lot more than those last 15 games because yes, you're performing at a high level, but everybody in the NBA is performing at a high level. These are the best of the best in the world. There's not anybody better than the NBA at this point. So yes,
I also feel like they know. I also feel like they already know what they're getting. They don't need the tournament. Like take John L. Davis last year from FAU. John Davis had an incredible tournament, and it upped his draft stock by 0 because teams already knew they weren't looking for that. They knew what they wanted already in that position, and there was 12 guys that didn't play in the tournament that got drafted ahead of him. He also obviously didn't declare. He said he was going to come back because they thought maybe FAU can go back-to-back Final Four, which would be incredible. But I do feel it holds weight this year if we get the Clinnigan and Zach Edey matchup in the national championship game. For the two of them, for the sake of, does it really justify Clinnigan's draft stock as a top 5 prospect? And if Edey ends up dominating that matchup, does it move him up from a late first round guy, depending on the need of where somebody falls, to say, hey, we can't pass up on this guy? Like, he just proved himself on the big stage. So I think for both of their cases, for those two individuals that they meet in the national championship game, the outcome of their draft stock would be tremendously impacted.
To your point,
now, although the stock would go up, would you think that Edey do? No matter what, you've watched enough of him. Do you believe in Edey as a pro prospect?
No. He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough footwork, and in 4 years, yes, you can teach.
Neither did Yao Ming.
Yao Ming had better footwork than he did.
Not as a rookie. Yao was goofy. I'm telling you, as a rookie, yeah, he
you didn't let me finish. That's what I was going to say. You didn't let me finish what I was going to say. I was going to say, I don't think he's going to be highly drafted. I think he may get second round, potentially undrafted, because he doesn't have footwork. He can't shoot. He can't really dribble. And yes, he's dominating college guys, but everybody in the NBA that is a post player is 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", and they can jump out the gym. Even the guys that are 6'2", look at John Morant. He can jump over that KD. So when you look at these guys, you got to be able to shoot the ball and dribble. Even Jokic, he can take the ball off the court. He's the most probably out of shape guy in this, looking wise. He is in shape, obviously. He can run up and down the court, but he doesn't look like it. But he has good handles, good footwork. He can shoot. I mean, he has that ugly shot, but he can shoot. So Zach needs to develop that in order to. And I think that's the barring in college basketball. I think these coaches are doing to these centers that are not teaching them how to play outside, especially ones that are.
To be honest, I don't think it really matters because at the end of the day, that big motherfucker can't go on a permanent check anybody. They could never teach him how to do that, and that's just simply what he's not there to do. The difference in Yao Ming is, remember, the NBA was not running as much pick and roll back then, and we did not have as many switches and people isolating to put your center in that fucked up position. That's the difference. Because if Yao Ming tried that shit now, Steph Curry, we put him in isolation. They would make sure John Morant ended up in isolation. And Edie will not be able to sit out there when Donovan Mitchell comes up and says, all right, come here, and then makes the switch happen. Now Edie's out here in the middle of nowhere.
Plus, it was a different league. It was a different league back then. It was a big man league. We still had Shaq in there that was dominating.
No, it's still a big man league. Stop. It's a big man league. The difference is these big men can move. Sengun can move. Chet can move. Wemby can move. Jokic can still move for a big man. There are big men. That didn't change. What happens is the big man can move.
That's what I meant.
Runs the floor a lot better than Jokic does. I do. And from an athletic standpoint, no. But from an impact standpoint, he's a JaVale McGee kind of guy. He's not going to be able to ever shoot the ball very well. But he may be able to get key offensive rebounds. If a lot of three-point shooters, he'll be a good rim protector, and he could run the floor. So it's not like he becomes a defensive liability.
Yeah, he'll be a defensive liability. Trust me.
I mean, can he work on his footwork? I don't know if they're gonna. I mean, I think a team will take a chance on him undrafted. I think a team will be like, all right, let me take this 7-foot guy and see if I can work with him to see what he can do. But I also put that on the college coaches as well, because you have a top prospect, you have one of these guys. How come you're not working him to try to develop those skills? I understand your job is to win a national championship, your job is to be the top program, so you're not really worried about that. But I mean, I also put a blame on the college coaches as well, because Zacky's had 4 years, I think 5 now.
But college is a different game. The coaches are playing for the college game. The college game is a whole different game.
How about an honorable mention for our guy all year long? You're talking about impact players. It was in the NIT. Robbie Avila, a.k.a. Milk Chamberlain, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a.k.a. Larry Nerd, who's literally carried his Indiana State Sycamores to the NIT finals against Seton Hall. I believe that plays tonight. And the guy put up 5 threes in the semifinals. And his first shot of the game was to catch it from the top of the key and just drained it. This kid is not talked about enough. Talk about great footwork, great basketball IQ. He's going to get looked over, and he might be one of the best players in his position who could be eligible to go to the league. The problem is people look over him and underassume it, and I hope he takes his shot somewhere and dominates the damn G League for a season to prove people wrong.
I'll be honest, though, the draft is... I mean, we've known this for the NFL. We've known this for a lot of things. The draft is what it is. Yes, okay, you're taking a guy, but at the end of the day, sometimes the number 1 pick flops. Sometimes the number 1, the 10th pick doesn't flop. I mean, Minnesota took Johnny Flynn over Steph Curry. And Steph Curry was a consistent, great shooter, handles, everything like that, and he was taken. So, I mean...
But that's where I do think the tournament can play a factor into this, because it's not that I put all and be all, but if I'm going to draft a guy, let's say top 5, and I'm trying to say I'm handing him the keys to the franchise, I think those are the guys that I have to look at in the tourney more. If a guy flames out and you're drafting to be your number 2 or 3 option, fine. But if I'm drafting you with the expectation you're going to be the guy, that I do need to look at the tournament. Perfect example, years ago, I remember Andrew Wiggins, and I said it back then. I don't give a damn what happened in Golden State a couple years ago, because now everybody's back on the Andrew Wiggins train. I remember specifically watching that Kansas team go, and B gets hurt. Everybody's like, Andrew Wiggins has got to carry the team. And I watched this man once score 4 points and go 1 for 6 from the field in 34 minutes and get eliminated in the second round. And I'm watching, I was like, oh, yeah, the Andrew Wiggins guy is playing. What do they call him? Maple Jordan. I'm like, that guy is out there. And I was forgetting he was out there. And that wasn't the only time I seen that. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't know. This kind of is triggering me. Now, if I was drafting Andrew Wiggins to be the 3rd person or 4th, like the Warriors eventually got, fine. But the Minnesota Timberwolves drafted that guy, expecting him to take over games. And when I saw him when his team needed it, and it was championship level stuff on the line in the second round, maybe, where was he at? He was gone. I mean, I don't. For me, that's what I kind of look at. Mike, we haven't heard much from you, so I am curious though of what.
Mike's still here.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. I thought he left. Mike disappeared in clutch moments. What the hell, Mike?
Well, if we're not taking the tournament into account, then I've been consistent before that. No, I think for me, I will say the prime example I use for why Edie needs to work on his game and why his current game will not work in the NBA is Luka Garza. Back-to-back player of the year in college at Iowa before he was ever able to be a successful player for the Detroit Pistons when they picked him in the second round after being a back-to-back player of the year was he had to work on his shot and work on his footwork. That was the two biggest knocks. It's the same thing as Edie. Now, granted, Garza's a little bit shorter. I shouldn't say a little bit, a few inches shorter than Edie's. I think he's about 6'9", 6'10", but still, the two biggest knocks on Garza were the exact same two knocks on Edie. And Garza was able to do that, and he became a decent player for the Pistons. But I don't know if Edie can do that. So we'll see what happens there. As far as the tournament goes with the draft, I agree, Trey. I think it's big for like the top 5, top 10 guys, those guys that you really want to be the superstars. It's good for guys to be able to evaluate guys on particulars of like high pressure situations. Big moments, biggest stage, brightest lights, things like that. But I do still take a lot of stock more at, like you said, John, in the sense of that regular season, that the long haul of the season over for those guys that are in college for multiple seasons, over multiple seasons. To be able to see them not only progress their game and show that they have the ability to continue to get better, because even if they go 5 years, these are going to be in their early 20s guys that can still continue to develop their game. But how consistent are you? We talk about consistency all the time, where I need you to be able to contribute if I'm bringing you in, especially if I'm bringing you in with a high pick. I need you to contribute to my team off the jump. Maybe not in certain situations, be the number one guy yet, but I need to see that you have that potential, the potential to even be a second or third option on this team if I'm going to bring you in. And if not, then I need to bring in I like the idea of what Hurley's doing at UConn, but at an NBA level. Obviously, you're going to get the best of the best. That's absolutely clear. But it's important to bring in guys that are going to work. You can't just draft a guy just because you think he's a good player. If he's not going to fit in what you want to do, then it doesn't matter how skilled he is a lot of the time. So that's I think it has its value. Evaluating them in the tournament has its value, but I need to see consistency over the course of their seasons and career.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like Kemba Walker, it made him be a top pick. Allowed him to sell himself. I don't think he was ever going to be the star. I think he was always great on Charlotte. He was good on New York. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he was ever meant to be the number one. And I think he sold himself really good in that tournament, won the national championship. And same with Shabazz Napier. Shabazz Napier did the same thing for UConn and whatnot. So
congrats are in order for the Arizona State men's swimming and diving team for winning their first ever NCAA championship last week. The most versatile swimmer on the planet, Mr. Leon Marchand, led the way for the Sun Devils by setting 3 new individual meet records, one would be broken later on in the week, and 2 new relay records with an unbelievable leadoff swim in the 400 free relay. Now, one could argue that this was the greatest NCAA meet of all time, as 5 of the 14 and 4 of the 5 relay records were broken. And for the first time ever, we saw a man go under 50 seconds in the 100-yard breast, and not 1 but 2 men go under the 129 mark in the 200 freestyle. But here's the big news following that meet. It was the announcement of Bob Bowman, Bob D and Michael Phelps' career coach, taking the director of aquatics position at the University of Texas. Now, why is that relevant? Well, Texas has been one of the richest programs in the history of collegiate swimming, especially from the 2000s onwards. And with the retirement of legendary coach Eddie Reese, who I think is the greatest coach in the history of college swimming, how more fitting could it be than to say goodbye to a legend and welcome in one of the most successful coaches the sport has ever known? Now, here's what I know. And this sucks for every college program right now in the country. With the resources that Bob has right now, because when he went into Arizona State 8 years ago, there was no chance that he was going to win a national title, but somehow he pulled it off. With the unlimited resource that he has right now at the University of Texas, and trust me when I say they will open up the checkbook for him, sky is the limit with this program, and expect the Texas Longhorns, especially the men, to be relevant by this time next year. And when I say relevant, they might go ahead and start winning themselves NCAA championships again.
The NBA and the NHL seasons are coming to a close here. So, how do you feel about teams that are maneuvering throughout the season to try to get certain matchups? Trey?
I never really am a big fan of it because I just never like to watch a team start to dodge another team. It's something about setting that tone that I've never loved. I mean, realistically, I get it. If you don't want to face this team because you know they may put you out, fine, but you're probably going to catch them anyways, and they'll still put you out. So for me, it's just something about, to me, it's almost like a loser mentality when you're like, oh, but if I get them, but let me hope somebody else eliminates them because I'm too scared to go do it. And to me, that's just not a championship mentality. Most teams that really win championships, they ready to go out there and,
play the best.
Yes, and go play and get the best. I remember, I think it was either last year before, where the Clippers started maneuvering and they messed around and got the matchup. They won in the first round and then got knocked out after they thought they were trying to maneuver to be on the opposite side of the bracket, and it didn't work out. Because then also the other thing is, sometimes when a team sees that, oh, you want to play me because you think I'm soft? Now you're going to get a better shot from them because now they are, as the Michael Jordan meme says, going to take that personal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that. I mean, and that goes back to the Kobe mentality. Is like, I'm just going to beat you. I don't care who the hell you are. I'm going to come in. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to beat you. So I don't like that mentality. I think that's where I say the NBA is a little bit softer nowadays because a lot of teams are like, oh, if we get this matchup, we get that matchup. And I can rest this guy and that and stuff. But go out there and play. Who cares? If I'm I don't know, the Lakers. I want to take down, because then the storyline reads itself. Okay, the Lakers took down the Nuggets. Let's just say they probably won't, but let's just say they took down the Nuggets, they took down the T-Wolves, they took down the Thunder, go to the finals. They just took down the three best in the West right now. So why, that holds more pride than to scapegoat around and say, okay, that's why we had such a bad Western Conference Finals last year, because it was just, the Lakers kind of, I mean, they dominated the Warriors, but the Warriors kind of like on a kind of type of season, and they got to the Western Conference Finals and they met a juggernaut, and that juggernaut was in full steam ahead. If I'm a team, I want to play the best and I want to beat the best. I don't want to just beat the crap out of, I don't know, whoever the worst team in the NBA is right now, the San Antonio Spurs. I don't want to just beat the shit out of them. I want to go in and play the best. And I don't like when teams do that. I don't think the NHL does that very often, because you play who you got to play. I mean, look at the Panthers last year. The Panthers went up against the juggernaut in the Boston Bruins and beat them in 6 games. Team that had won the President's Trophy had 110 points, and then the Panthers, that motivated them to go to the Stanley Cup Final. Ended up losing to Vegas, but that series win proved to them that they can beat anyone in the East and move right themselves to the. So it can help a team. It's more like the NC State. They went ahead and ran through an ACC tournament. It gives you that momentum that, hey, I can play with that. This is the best team in the league, and we're beating them. Let's do it. And I think that's the mentality that you got to have going into the playoffs, that we can beat with whoever we want.
Just to put a little respect on the San Antonio Spurs, the Pistons are the worst team in the league, and the Spurs have a better record than the Pistons, the Wizards, and the Hornets.
They're eliminated, so
put some respect on these teams.
Get down there.
Just as a side note,
here's where it's very opposite, right? In the Eastern Conference, you have a Miami Heat team that's like, bring on the Bucks or bring on the Celtics, right?
Yeah,
they kind of have that swag about them. They don't care. Okay, in the East, that's how it is. And that's it, only for that. Other than that, the mentality would be for every other team, avoid the Celtics by all means possible, which is what I think the Cavs will try to do. I think the Cavs are going to fight tooth and nail to be the 3 seed as opposed to the 4 seed, so they meet them hopefully in the and as you should try to win up instead of trying to lose down. So I think the Cavs are resting Donovan for a bit to try and make that push at the end of the season to make sure they lock in that 3. In the West, who are you avoid? I mean, avoid Denver, but like, who are you trying to avoid? You might end up with the Suns, who are a terrible matchup because they could beat any team on any given night if they're actually producing in the fourth quarter. You could end up with the Mavs, who might drop to a 7 seed or whatever it is, and if you're Minnesota trying to lose to not get that matchup. Like the West, here's the difference between the East and the West. The Celtics are 12 games ahead of the Bucks, who are in second place. 12 games are the difference between first and 10th place in the West. So it's too up. Like it doesn't apply to the East and West the same way. I think in the East, unless you're Miami, you want to avoid Boston. And in the West, it's like, what can you do and who can you avoid? You're gonna end up with a fucked up matchup by any means.
But to be honest, when you put the Heat as an example, that is the type of mentality we talk about. When everybody talks about Heat culture and all that type of shit, because that same mentality.
Culture. That's why it's their culture. It's different.
That type of culture is why they are always there, because they aren't scared to back down. Other teams, you remember we seen it with the Bucks a couple years ago. And they're like, oh no, I'm avoid this team. And that type of mentality is how you end up in these jacked up positions. The Heat would be like, I don't care, we're playing them. And we saw last year they make a run. I'm not saying they're gonna beat the Celtics this year, but damn well, I'm gonna put it this way: I almost put money to the Celtics more scared to play them than they are to play the Celtics.
Probably. No, in the NFL, it doesn't matter. And it's being proven that it doesn't matter for like 3 or 4 seasons in a row. And Mikey, you could talk more on that than me.
Yeah, so this actually is kind of applicable to my team, to the Rangers, because the talk going into the last couple weeks has been, as the season draws to a close, everybody's got about 8-9 games left or so, is should the Rangers start resting guys for the playoffs in also hopes that they don't win, this is sound weird to non-hockey fans, don't win the President's Trophy. So don't have them, just don't have, right, exactly. Don't have the most points, because there's seemingly the superstition right now is there's a curse on the President's Trophy, because I think it's been since 2011, the Chicago Blackhawks that won the Cup. Since then, no President's Trophy winner has made it past the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
including the Lightning, who got swept out by the Blue Jackets the year they won the President's Trophy.
And Boston,
but then didn't win the President's Trophy any of the times they actually won the Cup.
So should we abolish the President's Trophy? Is that what we're getting?
I really don't think the players buy into that bullshit, because
they don't.
If that's the case, because Sidney Crosby, I think, broke that in 2009 when he grabbed the trophy, the Eastern Conference trophy.
Right.
When you won it, you're not supposed to touch it, and he grabbed it.
But that's like a superstition.
That's
the
a
other
superstition.
thing is based on facts, though. Like, it's facts for the last 13 years coming up, that the winner of the President's Trophy cannot get the job.
But we've seen the number 1 seed fall all the time in sports.
Yeah.
Because they ride too high on their waves, and realistically,
you say all the time, or more recently in the past 15 years in every sport.
I think we've seen it a lot more. Maybe in the second and third round, we've seen it more in the first round in the last 4 or 5 years. We've seen teams fall in the first round, and I go back to my point in saying that it almost jolts you. Like, okay, yeah. I mean, those years that the Penguins won, I felt like the Capitals were doing everything they could to try to avoid playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then they finally beat the Penguins to go to the Stanley Cup, and I had to feel inside that if I'm that team, I'm feeling amazing that I finally got over the hump to get to the Stanley Cup final, and then I win it, and it's like, damn, I finally conquered my everything else is gravy.
But there is something that changed the mentality. That's what happened with the Heat when they got to go beat the Celtics and LeBron and Wade. They were crying because they were like, oh, we got over the Celtics. And that only made them so much on fire when they got to the NBA Finals, because they didn't say, well, if we got to play the Celtics and please. They're like, no, we will go handle them. And now we have a different type of level of confidence at this point.
I think it's more in this media than anything at this point, where people.
No,
are like,
it 100% is.
I don't know if the teams are doing it. I mean, like going back to the Tyvon interview that we had, is the players are always trying to win, right? The players are always trying to like ball out or as much as they want. It's the everything above them that's trying to maneuver their way and try to get different matchups. And if I'm the Rangers in this situation, I want the President's Trophy. Why? I get home ice advantage throughout the entire playoffs, and if we go to the Stanley Cup Finals, we get the Stanley Cup Finals at home, the first game. So why wouldn't you?
Plus, if you really believe in yourself as a team, it shouldn't matter. You should.
There's no
You should. It's not easy, but you should have enough confidence in yourself, especially after having the kind of season that. And I only say this because I saw them play so much and the success they've had. The season you've had, and the amount of guys you've had step up. You had a 6-7 rookie step in and become one of the biggest enforcers in the league, and all of a sudden Artemi Panarin shaves his head, and now he's a 100-point scorer.
Well, no wonder you guys are winning the President's Trophy. You're beating the shit out of every team you go in. Literally, you're beating the shit out of every team.
That's hockey.
Last
That's
night
hockey,
they had 8. They had a 5 on the opening puck drop. They fought. Every single player fought each other on the opening puck drop. Boom, just boom, 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 boom. Everyone fought.
Why the
5
bad
guys.
blood?
It's the Devils.
It's the Devils.
Okay.
We don't like the Devils.
So, but I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, the Rangers are either just trying to like literally fight their way to the Stanley Cup Finals, or I mean, they're just a goon squad. They're just trying to.
I talked to her a few weeks ago.
Yo, Mikey, your thumb. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Tommy DeVito's getting into him. Like, hey, how you doing? Come on, let's
He
go.
has
Let's get
been at a few
this.
games.
Yeah.
He has been at a few games.
Well, it's not like he's going to be in the NFL too much longer. He may as well learn how to skate.
Yeah, Danny's coming back, and now everybody's going to be in trouble.
Of course, Danny's coming back. You're paying him $40 million. He better come.
I
back.
know.
Where the fuck's
I know
he gonna
what they're
go?
doing.
I find that.
Flipboard University.
You can go back to Duke. Go be a grad assistant or something.
And pay him $40 million to be a grad assistant.
No, they'll buy him out.
Hey, Danny, stay in North Carolina while we pay you. All right, sure.
He can run the.
I don't have to
Manning
get hit. I don't have to get injured. Cool. Yeah, I'll be here. No problem,
We'll
Coach.
just change. We'll change Tobacco Road to Danny Dimes Road.
This is a message to the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes as he enters his match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. Finish the damn story. As a wrestling fan, I'm tired of hearing you say that you have to finish the story. And frankly, WWE, if he doesn't do it now, no one's going to care. So this needs to be the time when Cody Rhodes finally dethrones Roman Reigns and wins that WWE or the undisputed Universal title, whatever you want to call it. This is the time to do it, because after this, it's not going to matter if he does it again, because we're tired of waiting. He's been back for 2 years. You've been talking about it for 2 years. So just get it done. Start a new era in the WWE with Cody Rhodes as champion and let Roman go take some time off. He's earned it.
All right, with the big moments in the MLB this year, it's already been big moments, and we're only like 8 games into the season. Teams are already looking like superstars. Juan Soto for the Yankees. Let's go.
Sir?
Already looking like a superstar that we already expected. So, I guess, what is your, in this early season, what is your Grand Slam take of the year? Like, what's going to happen throughout the year? It can be anything. So, Trade, who you got?
Okay, so I'm going to say, just because of where baseball seems to be trending lately, there will be at least 2 teams to win over 110 games this season. Now, I know that's a big take.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'll put it this way. 20 teams since 2017 have won over 100 games. Between 2005 and 2016, only 6 teams won over 100 games. So we are getting more and more 100-win teams. With that being said, we also are starting to have more of these extremes where a team just fucking sucks and bottoms out. So you'll have a lot more where you can just accumulate an extra win here, extra win there. We are starting to trend there. So I know it's like, damn, 110, that's a crazy number. But, I mean, we've seen teams go over 110, only one at a time. We've seen multiple teams, sometimes 3 or 4 in a year, go over 100. So why not, while a team is basically tanking or selling their people, you just get a few extra wins here in late July, a few extra wins here in August that you are not really supposed to get, but somebody trades their stud. They, don't call up a couple people from the minors because they're just, giving the season away at that point for arbitration reasons or for whatever. So, yeah, that's going to be my take. 2 teams. I'm not going to say which 2, but there will be 2 teams over 110 wins this year in baseball.
Come on, you got to tell us the 2. Come
Maybe
on.
later.
Ah.
Maybe later.
So they got to keep coming back for your take?
Yes,
The Doggers and the Giants.
Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. Get Trey's take.
Subscribe.
Yes.
I'll keep giving you more takes. And subscribe and tell me I was wrong if I'm wrong about it.
You know they're not afraid to.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna call my takes out, then subscribe and tell me.
I gotta get the takes that say like
if you don't subscribe,
no.
we're not in the comments.
Yeah, right. Like I like the ones that say like no one cares. Be like, you obviously do because you're commenting.
Well, clearly,
so.
you're,
You're commenting on there, bro. Like you clearly care.
You, sir. At least I have one person that cares, and it's you.
All right, so my Grand Slam take, I'm gonna make 2 of them. So my Grand Slam take is the LA Dodgers will not make the playoffs this year.
Jeez, on.
And the Pittsburgh Pirates will win the NL Central.
Mm-hmm. I like that call.
Okay.
Why? Because
Why
Pittsburgh
won't the
is trying.
Dodgers go to? If I want the
I
Dodgers
feel
to
like
play
the Dodgers are going to get into a potential injury. The injuries will start to fall. I don't wish that, but obviously I think, with the history of Glass now, with the history of Bueller, with, other guys like Ohtani, I guess it's fully healed. I don't really understand. That's the other thing about Ohtani I don't understand. He had Tommy John, and he's playing 6 months later. I don't really understand that. And he's throwing, pretty well. So I don't get that. But I just feel like this team is just going to, at some point in the season, just hit a lull. Kind of like the Yankees did last year, where they just hit a lull and just never be able to recoup from it. And
they'll be all right. So now my prediction, because I had a feeling that was coming. The Dodgers will win over 110 games, and the Orioles will win over 110 games. There, book it. I wanted you to say that first because the reason this topic came up was because I knew that was his Grand Slam take. And that's why my prediction had to wait.
My Grand Slam take is going to be eggs, bacon, pancakes with a side
like
of hash
it.
browns. Shout out to
Denny's. Denny's sponsor.
The DJ Burns plate right there.
Yeah, right. And then I think the Pirates are going. I think the Pirates have a good young core, especially with O'Neal Cruz. They got the Paul Skeens from LSU, who's been a huge pickup in the draft. I just feel like this team is very youthful, and they were right there last year for a lot of the season, 3/4 of the season, and they really didn't lose a lot of guys. They brought in some guys. I mean, I don't really understand how Domingo Germán still has a job after this, but we'll see what happens with that. I just feel like they brought in a few key pieces. They got some good draft picks that are playing up in the big league team this year. I just feel like they're going to have their year. And the NL Central is really down. St. Louis is still at the bottom, and I know it's early, but the Cubs, we're not sure what's going to happen. Brewers kind of lost a lot of guys, gave a lot of guys away, especially Corbin Burns, to your take, Trey, who is now a Baltimore Oriole. So I just feel like the Pirates, this is their year to just take the division.
I think, from my perspective, I'll say now the Reds are going to win the Central. I think the Pirates this year are going to be what the Reds were last year. They're going to hang around, and they're going to be in like the top 3 of the division the whole year. Mm-hmm. And they're going to come like 3-4 games short of making the playoffs. But next year, I think will be their year. I think I do agree with you.
No, not at all. I'm interested in his Grand Slam. That's his bunt.
You gotta get people on base first to hit Grand Slam. You can't just hit Grand Slam with nobody on base.
So this is his chocolate milk. So now give us a breakfast.
Exactly. This was the morning coffee. No, so my Grand Slam take is this: by the end of this season, Mike Trout will be a Philadelphia Philly.
Whoa.
Maybe.
The Angels suck. And again, I know it's early in the year. The Angels are ass. Like they just are.
He had the opportunity in the offseason to do this. They literally said, Mike, we will trade you. And he said no.
I understand that. It's a long season. Things can change.
I was so mad I didn't go to the game the other day. He had a 476 feet home.
Yeah, oh no, he had a bomb.
Like dead center in Miami. I was like, damn it, I should have went. So that's your take, huh?
Yeah, it's just so obviously the Angels suck. He has known back problems. The doctors have told him unfortunately it sounds like a David Wright situation where he has far less time left than he thought. And he's not, I mean, he's young, but he's not, compared to like some guys, he's not young. I think he's in his early 30s now. His back's bad. I mean, it's been nagging him for years, and I don't know why the man's made a mistake and has decided to be an Eagles fan, despite the fact that he did grow up pretty close to MetLife. He's from New Jersey, but he's from New Jersey. He's an Eagles fan, and frankly, he's a great guy. He is a great guy outside of the fact that he's an Eagles fan. And I think for him, the Phillies just make too much sense. There's been too much of like, oh, if Mike Trout ever got traded or ever left the Angels, it would be to the Phillies. that it's almost like, I mean, I'm going to put an assurance on this that I put on Ohtani going to the Dodgers. He will be affiliate at some, even if I'm wrong, I'll say this, outside of this Grand Slam take for this season, even if I'm wrong about this season, by the end of his career, he'll be affiliate. For sure.
No, we're talking about this season. This is your
I
take.
understand that. I'm saying it's happening this year.
Okay. All right.
But
That's your take.
I'm just saying I will say that obviously any take can be wrong, but I'm more sure he'll be affiliate at some point than I even am this year, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be this year.
I hope one day I get to be cool with Mike Trout, and then I'm going to send you a video of him doing back fucking pulls at 315, and you just be like, yeah, is his back bad, Mike? I swear, that's Mike's take on Mike Trout every time we talk. And I swear, it's going to be one day where I'm going to show him, like, yeah, his back's really bad. He's doing back pulls at 315.
I'm different doing a back pull and trying to swing a bat violently every time you're at the plate.
Yeah, so. But I mean, you're still pulling. That's a lot of fucking weight, bro. I do that. Have you ever pulled 315? It's a fucking tough. It's a tough thing to pull.
Reason why I'm not pulling 315. So no.
You stopped working out with me. That's why. All right. What's your take there?
Yeah. What take are you pulling?
Well, look, it would have been super boring for me to say Eflin's going to be the best pitcher in baseball because the Rays just keep pushing out players pitchers at least, who end up being absolute gems. So I'll go to a different player here and say, here's who's not going to be in the AL Cy Young voting by the time season comes to an end, or nowhere near to the top two. It's not going to be Corbin Burns or Garrett Cole. It's going to be Pablo Lopez of the Minnesota Twinkies. And I'll tell you why. And possibly, and I'll stick with Lopez first. I think the Mariners are going to have a great year, so I think George Kirby can end up winning the AL Cy Young. But I say Pablo Lopez is going to win the AL Cy Young, and here's why. Ever since moving from the Marlins to the Twins, it's a much more favorable division for him. And he's limited opposing hitters to like under 200. And he's at his peak right now. He's about 28, I think, 5th best strikeout rate in the league last year. So right now they have him deemed as possibly a top 5 pitcher. I say he's the best pitcher in baseball by the time this year is done. And mostly because of how weak his division is. So it's more along the lines of he shines because he doesn't have to play as many good players, pitch against as many good players as Garrett Cole does, or as Burns does, or as some of the other guys that you used to be seeing at the top of this list. I know for sure a lot of people are obviously saying that Strider by far is the best pitcher in baseball, but it's a gauntlet when you're thinking about the NL East and the AL East and having to pitch in those divisions. So I think that Lopez for me is going to end up as the best pitcher in baseball by the end of this year.
Well, to your point, Garrett Cole, I don't think we'll be able to have enough time to make it. I mean, he won't be back till June, so he's not gonna be able to. I mean, he's still out with that right arm, so I don't even think he'll be in contention or have the contention to do so. But
yeah, but you know, a lot of those guys come back and they could have an incredible end to the season where you won't give them the award, but they're still showing they're the best pitcher in baseball.
All right, so since we did a Grand Slam take, give me your Grand Slam World Series predictions. And you can either give me both teams and the winner, or you can just give both teams. You can give the winner later if you want. But go ahead, Mike. Who you got?
Well, I'm going to try to speak this into existence. New York Yankees are going to the World Series for the American League. And I think, give me that 96-99 rematch. I think it's going to be Yankees-Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Trade day.
The Dodgers will beat the Astros in the World Series.
Oh, not another Dodgers-Astros.
Jesus Christ, Trey.
Yes, the Dodgers will beat the Astros. We only got it once in the last decade.
We have to
Can't
watch
you just
them
beat the Orioles or
that's why I know it's going to
or someone else.
They keep going, both keep somehow not making it at the same time, which is why I was like, this just seems inevitable. That how do you keep each making it but only get one matchup out of all these years?
Yeah,
you need something different.
I mean, that's different. We haven't seen that in a while. So
make it.
we haven't seen that matchup in a while. So I mean, it is recent.
Yeah, it's been 7 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
But
the rest of the damn
both been in it.
Been not to be anywhere near the World Series. So I'm gonna take the Bravos. So the Atlanta Braves win the NL, but I'm taking the Seattle Mariners to win the AL, and I say the Braves beat Seattle in the World Series. Okay. Because here's why: Bruce Bochy does not go to back-to-back World Series, so the Rangers ain't going back.
Sure,
they ain't winning the AL West.
So I am going to take I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies, and they are going to take on the Baltimore Orioles. My apologies to all Yankees fans and myself. They are going to take on the Baltimore Orioles. And can I give my prediction of who's going to win it?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, I think the Philadelphia Phillies will host the trophy at the end of the year. They've been this close every single year. And I do agree with Mike's take. I think they're going to add some key pieces at the trade deadline, like Mike Trout. Could be a pitcher. Could be like a Marlins Alcantara if he's pitching well. But I don't know if they trade in division. But I just feel like the Phillies have been right there every single year, that this is the year to get over that hump and get to there, because they have the same guys. They re-signed their 2 studs who have looked like duds over the last month and a half in spring training. Aaron Nola and what's his face?
Zach Wheeler.
Zach Wheeler have looked terrible. So I see that, but I just see them turning it around. I see them going after key pieces in the trade deadline, maybe getting rid of a few pieces that maybe are some dead weight, and really just taking this team to the next level that will surpass them. And I just think the Orioles are going to. They're young. They got rid of a lot of older players that were just weighing them down. And I think Jackson Holiday is going to come up eventually this year, maybe in June, and really make a spark for this team and really ignite them forward. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the Yankees' year.
So no love for the young Diamondbacks, huh?
I love the Diamondbacks, but I just don't see it. Like, I don't see. I think there was a fluke. I think they going back to the NBA and NHL topic, I think they did exactly what they didn't fear the Dodgers. They played them all year. They knew who they were, and they said, we're going to take them down, and swept them. And that gave them momentum. You beat the best team in baseball, and I think that just basically propelled them. And in baseball, it's all about getting into a routine and a rhythm. And they got into a good rhythm, hitting, pitching, everything, and the rest is history. I think once they knew they took down the Dodgers, the mighty old Dodgers, everybody else was kidding.
That was mighty, because prior to last year, the Dodgers had won something like 74% of all their games against the Diamondbacks, or something ridiculous over the last 10 years. I mean, the numbers were astoundingly just one-sided.
Yeah.
Well, plus now the league is well aware of who most of these guys on the Diamondbacks are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching.
Exactly. They're watching. Like, okay, now and plus, like, that deep of a playoff run, obviously going to the World Series is like, okay, now we've got much deeper scouting reports on even the young guys. We've got more, tape on them and how they pitch and how they hit and things like that. So this is going to be a telling year for the Diamondbacks as to what direction they're really headed, whether they're going to plateau or whether they're going to keep getting better.
So Trey and John have the NL winning, and you and I have the AL winning.
Well, I never gave my.
Mike never said it. We just assume and know.
I will assume that you're not going.
Yeah, you can assume. You can assume.
Yeah,
I'm going to try against North Carolina, but he's not going to go against the Yankees.
I actually didn't go against North Carolina. I picked them as my national champion.
That's what. No, you didn't, did you?
Yes, I did. In my bracket, I had them winning the national championship.
Oh,
I didn't. I had UConn.
You can.
Confusing the hell out of me. Well, let us know in the comments what your predictions are for the World Series. And let's get a bet from the interpreter from Otani, see what he thinks.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's do
Again,
that.
let's have him put something in for us early.
He's got the money. He's got the bankroll for it.
To bet for us on our behalf. Buy us a whole new down.
Give us a studio.
Warehouse, a new freaking mall plaza for us to
You know what time it is, everyone. It's our favorite time of the show, where it is Stump the Squad.
Yeah, boys. It is time once again. Our favorite time of the show. It's Stump the Squad, where we get to prove to each other who knows the most. Now, you know everything, but we just want you guys to feel good about yourself. So sometimes we get it wrong just for you guys to feel good. If you want to play along, every time you get a question right, give yourself 2 points. But if you get it wrong, make sure you give yourself a -2. And let us know if you beat the stump this week as well. So this week, coming off my win from last week, I think I had Trey go first, so I'm going to be like Coach Hurley and stick with this superstition of maybe every time I win the week after, I'm going with Trey Day for the first question.
Okay, so let's see, where are we at? Okay, had a lot of talk about some big fellas today. I'm going to stay with that. Actually, no. We're gonna go to the little fellas. Yep, let's go to the little fellas. Let's go to the little fellas here. Okay, so follow me here. Spud Webb, Earl Boykins, and Muggsy Bogues are listed as the 3 lightest players to ever appear in an NBA game. What is the total weight of these 3 players at their lightest listed weight?
Wow.
Go again. Spud Webb, Earl Boykins, Muggsy Bogues. Total lightest weight, listed weight combined.
Okay.
372 pounds, 397 pounds, 404 pounds, or 418 pounds.
397.
404.
397 from John, 404 from Mike,
What's the last option, Dre?
418.
I believe all of them are over 100. If they're 140 each, that's 420, and that's light. Give me D, 418.
Okay, and then Jay's going 418. Okay, so today I have successfully stumped John and Jamie.
Damn it.
Yes.
Yep, 404. Just as a side
How
note,
light was fucking Boykins?
I got the list here, but as a quick side note, Oliver Miller is the heaviest player ever listed in NBA history. Him by himself is 375.
You got to also remember, these guys are playing like a lot of games. So no matter what they're putting in their bodies, it's going right out. So, I mean, regardless of what they rate at the beginning of the season, they're probably like 10 to 15 pounds lighter from the beginning of the season. So that's why I went so light. But, Mike, what'd you say, 404?
Yeah, 404.
That makes
Spud
sense.
Webb is the lightest of those. Webb
Spud
was
looked the lightest
133 pounds. Webb at 133. Boykins at 135. Bogues at 136.
Damn.
So I had them as like 140, 140, and then 138. That's what I thought.
Would have been funny is if you said, "Hey, you got to do the math on all those." The only person that would get it right is Jamie because he's good at that.
Yeah,
I would have been like, take the 2, add the 4. All right, who do you want next?
Okay, let's see.
No one thought that was funny.
I don't want Jamie to warm up. So, Jamie, you're going.
All right, gentlemen. So in honor of us giving so much props to the women, I'm going to dedicate my question this week to women's basketball. And I want you guys to tell me which one of these players did not win the National Player of the Year award twice. Shamika Holdsclaw, Dawn Staley, Candace Parker, or Diana Taurasi? Which one of these 4 ladies did not win the National Player of the Award twice in their collegiate career?
I'm going
Dawn Staley, Candace Parker, or Diana Taurasi?
I'm going to go Staley.
I'm going to go Candace, even though I think it's
Diana.
coleslaw.
Mike, I didn't hear you.
I'm going to take Taurasi.
Taurasi for Mike, Parker for John, and Trey,
Staley.
what you got?
Staley.
Staley. Gentlemen, I have successfully stumped Mike and Trey.
Nice.
It is Candace Parker.
Woo!
Candace came at a time where UConn won like I think 3 in a row after the year they won one, where she was Player of the Year, and so I can't remember if it was Brianna Stewart. But
Who's coleslaw?
Shamika Holdsclaw was like the greatest player in the 80s.
What?
Hold Squad. Not
Holdsclaw.
Oh, I thought you said coleslaw. I was like, oh shit.
No, it's not Coleslaw.
Shamika Holdsclaw.
Sorry, Shamika.
One of the earlier WNBA superstars. Unfortunately, because the WNBA kind of came out as she was already of
Yeah, she was
age.
past her prime. She was in her prime in like 88.
She was in her prime in 88.
Okay.
WNBA shows up later, so unfortunately, she's like 28, 29 when the WNBA starts.
Dawn Staley was right after her in the early 90s. She won her 2. Diana won her 2.
If I was right, her and Cynthia Cooper, they both were on the first and second championships, I believe.
The Houston teams,
WNBA.
yeah.
Yeah, she did win. She is one of the main members of the first 2 WNBA championships.
Nice.
And the Olympic squad from 96
And
to
the Olympic gold.
All right, who do you want next, Jay?
You. Slow your ass down.
It's not hard. just get me into a tiebreaker. You know who's gonna win.
Put you on a treadmill and put it a lot slower.
Get to overtime.
I didn't mean like that, bro. God damn, man. Fuck. Damn. Oh, you're right, but I mean. All right, so Final Four moved permanently from arenas to domes in. Sorry about that. In the 90s, in the mid 90s. Which stadium holds the most Final Four locations? Is it New Orleans, Indy, Houston, or Phoenix?
Phoenix.
Mike Jamie says Phoenix.
New Orleans.
Trey. Mike.
Indy.
Mike says Indy. Okay, gentlemen. Today I've successfully stumped Mike and Jamie. It is New Orleans with 6.
Wow.
In the, I shouldn't have said that because that could have been a tiebreaker. But actually, I'll hold my other one for in case we need a tiebreaker. But Mike, go ahead for your last one. In the scores read at this point, Jay at -4, Mike at 0, and Trey at 0. So we're all tied. So
What do you have?
I have 0.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So I'm eliminated.
Yes. No.
Yes.
If you get it right and they get it wrong.
No.
Yeah, but you have 0.
You have 0. You could get it right.
Yeah.
You could win it all by just us losing.
No, I'm saying if he. Well, that's true.
You can't get it unless you want to give yourself
I
wrong.
can't. No, I'm good. So take it to baseball to kind of round out our little rotation of topics. Which of the following pitchers has 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot?
Love it.
A. Rob Nen.
6-toe
B.
Noni.
Bob Wickman.
6-toe
C.
Wickman.
Alan Embry. Or D. Antonio Alfonseca.
Ooh, that's a
Alan Embryo.
Rob Nen.
What was the last one, or the one before the last one?
One before the last one, option C, Alan Embry.
Him.
Alan Embryo.
So, all right, we got 2 Alan Embrys from John and Jamie, and a Rob Nen from Trey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's D.
This week, I have successfully stumped the squad.
And you win. It's D,
Jamie,
right?
Jamie, it's a shame you didn't go with that because yes, it is Antonio.
I said that was a
Alfonseca.
fun name. I was like, God damn it, I should have went with that name.
Yep.
Francisco or whatever.
6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot.
I know 2 guys that had 6 fingers on each hand growing up, but not toes.
Damn. All right, so week 105 or episode 105's winner, and with his second victory goes to Mike. Mike, congratulations. So the scoreboard now reads Trey with 2, Mike with 2, John and Jamie with 1. At least no one's got a goose egg. That's a good point. I think it's going to be
We're being
close.
competitive.
Good names in this one. You got Coleslaw and Francisco. Francisco.
He's going to make her be coleslaw.
Did you take coleslaw? Did you take coleslaw? With raisins in it?
No, you never put raisins in your coleslaw.
That's disgusting.
Stop it.
You stop.
Well, fellas, it's going to be an exciting weekend. We're going to don a national champion on Monday and on Tuesday. So, or no, I think the women's
on
is on
Sunday and Monday.
Sunday and Monday. They moved
Monday.
it. It used to be Tuesday.
It
for the
used
women's.
to be.
So Sunday and Monday we will don a national champion.
Mm-hmm.
Quick take. Who you guys got for your national champions? We'll just go around the horn.
Okay.
Go.
UConn.
You go first. You threw it out there.
All right. I'm going with, on the men's side, I'm going to go with the Purdue Boilermakers. And on the women's side, I'm going to go with the UConn Huskies. Jamie.
UConn.
Trey.
UConn men, South Carolina women.
Mike.
UConn.
Bang.
So, let us know in the comments what you guys think is the winner if you get to this point in the show. Any final thoughts heading into the weekends, fellas?
Fuck yeah, go Liverpool. On top of the Prem once again. Supremacy. Let's do it.
In the Prem.
It's WrestleMania weekend. Let's go. Saturday and Sunday. I'm super excited.
You don't seem it.
Who do you have, The Rock? Or who do you have winning?
Okay, so Saturday night's main event, I have Roman Reigns and The Rock winning. And then Sunday night's main event, as I said in my rant, is going to be Cody Rhodes. He's going to finish the story and dethrone Roman Reigns.
And Jason Kelsey might make an appearance. Let's go.
Yeah, it is in Philly. It's at the
We're
link.
going to do the tush push.
That's how Cody wins. That's how Cody wins, is he does the tush push. Into Roman.
That shit would be hilarious if all of a sudden, like, the entire offensive line gets in, just pushes him out of the ring while the ref is, like, not looking somehow. See, like, 10 tons of guys running through the ring.
The only time you'll see me excited to see the Philadelphia Eagles.
You see people crawling out from under the ring like nonstop.
I don't need to hear anything else. I just heard Mike said I'm excited to see the Philadelphia Eagles. Me too. I said too.
That would be.
Go Eagles. I know. Go Birds. All right, fellas. Well, we got episode 106 next week. Let's see if we can take down Mike and Trey, Jamie. We got to do something. Just don't get me in a tiebreaker. Make sure you subscribe to our channel at Cinco Squad Pod 05, and all of our socials will be on Twitter all weekend. We'll be on Instagram. Wherever we're at, you be at too. We'll see you here next week. Cinco Squad out.
Yep. By the way, Trey might be a Texans fan this year.